Councillor Jackson was elected with 82% of the vote, and having been through an election myself, those are numbers I just can't begin to fathom. Prior to this, he served in the governor's campaign as his political director. And before that, in the governor's administration as the information technology industry director within the economic development and housing branch of the governor's cabinet. Tito, in such a short period of time, has already had a tremendous impact on the city of Boston. He has impacted his district, District 7, which I'm a proud constituent. And we keep him honest. And he's impacted the city. He's impacted the state. And if you were listening to the State of the Union address, you will notice that even President Obama has been impressed with Tito. Because it was Tito who said we need to be raising the minimum graduation age to 18. It is something important for the city of Boston. We have too many young people who don't get their high school diploma and have set themselves on a path that they cannot possibly achieve their true potential. Tito recognized that. He has already put forth a proposal in Boston. It's been recognized by the governor. It's been recognized by the president. And this is just one example where he has already demonstrated the true leader, the true visionary, the inspirational public servant that he will be. So without further ado, please welcome my brother from another mother, Tito Jackson.
Let's give it up once more for Mike, my brother from another mother. Is there a dance floor? Okay, we'll have to see how that works out. I want to thank Mike for the invitation and the World Class Cities Partnership. You personally, Mike, have been an inspiration to me. I got to see you in a different light. I was working for Governor Patrick at the time as his political director, and I got to see Mike give one of the most amazing speeches I've ever seen on a Democratic convention floor. It was only second to the governor, and he's just a bright and rising star. So let's give it up once more for Mike. If anyone, I just need to clear the record, I am in no way related to Michael Jackson, so if anyone was really excited that Tito Jackson was going to be speaking today.
That's for the 82%.
The 82%, yes, exactly. And we have made... I don't need any medical assistance, no. And we actually have made history tonight. It is a night that Tim Rowe is wearing a shirt and tie and jacket, and I am not. So it is definitely a world-changing evening. So I guess Mike told me I should tell you a little bit about myself, and then we can dig into the Boston piece. My story is a Boston story. I was born in Boston City Hospital, and I didn't get to go home for 2 months. And I didn't get to go home for 2 months because I was adopted. My parents chose me, and I remind my older siblings of that on a regular basis. And also I remind my younger siblings, I was the first to be adopted. There's 4 of us who were adopted, 7 in total. And I remind my younger siblings that if it was not for me, that they wouldn't be here. I grew up in a really awesome family. My father was a community organizer, and he really worked hard so that women, people of color, and Boston residents got an opportunity to work in construction. My dad passed away 10 years ago, but my mom is still doing her thing. My mom had a daycare for 25 years, and she just recently retired and moved to Florida. And it was an awesome family. I grew up in a part of the city called Roxbury. That some of you know. It's actually the part of the city that Northeastern is in. And it was a difficult time when I was a young person because I had a kind of day-night continuum. I was in a program called METCO. So I would go on a bus to school, and then go back home. The amazing part about being in a MECO program is I went to school in Brookline, and I really got, okay, okay, we got Brookline represented, okay, cool, okay. Get a little shout out to Brookline, okay. But the great part about going to school in Brookline was my graduating class had 450 people, and we had people from 65 different countries. And it really showed me that diversity is a strength and not a challenge. It's something that we need to really celebrate, and folks need to come together on. And that was really, really seen for me when I got to college. I wanted to go to Morehouse College, which is a historically black college in Atlanta, Georgia. And I wanted to go there because Martin Luther King went there, and he went there at the age of 15. I graduated at 18, so I figured I was 3 years behind, so I needed to catch up. And I got my financial aid package. Well, first off, I got my acceptance letter, which was really cool. Then I got my financial aid package, which was $1,500. So I called them and I let them know that I could make $1,500 in a summer, so where was the rest of the money? That didn't work out so well. And so I ended up attending the University of New Hampshire. Which is not quite a historically black college. Yeah, just a little bit different. So the first day of school, we got the whole freshman class together in the gym, and I walked in and I kind of like backed in, and I turned around and I realized I was the only person of color in the gym that I thought. And I thought there was like a students of color meeting someplace else, and I was interrupting the meeting that was going on. And I think that's when I really began to think about what it means for an individual and a small group to create change. And we did this amazing thing in college. We formed this organization called the Black Student Union, which is a really big name for a really small group. So there were 7 of us, but 7 strong. And we wanted, we actually put together a list of demands. And it was a list of 4 demands. We wanted active recruitment of students of color. We wanted a functional office of multicultural student affairs. We wanted to have a counselor to deal with our issues. Hold on, there's one more. I'm having a Texas governor moment right now. But no, the other one was to have active recruitment of women of color, because we actually had mostly athletes at our school. And we put together this movement, and we got 3,000 of our classmates to sign on. And we brought these demands to the president, and he accepted them. And amazingly, we had 15 more students of color the next year. We had a functional office of multicultural student affairs. There was a pre-orientation for students of color. And then they fired the president. So I learned my first political lesson in that regard. But I guess for me, what I take away from that, and I guess the first point that I want to make tonight, is that it is very true that a small group of people can change an institution, can change a city, and I think can change the world. And just to fast forward, so in 2012, instead of having 55 black students at the University of New Hampshire, we have 550 black students at the University of New Hampshire. And I guess, since we are on the subject of education, I think education has to be our focus and is the most transformative matter in the city of Boston. We have a school system in our elementary school system that has 56,000 students. About 87% of those students are students of color. They're black, Latino, and Asian. We have a 50% dropout rate for black and Latino males. We are focusing on one of the schools that should be doing better, that really isn't, which is Madison Park High School. It's our one vocational technical school. To date, we have a 56% graduation rate, and about half of the students, actually, I'm sorry, the average student there misses a month of school a year. We have a lot to go. But I feel like my aunt, her little mantra is that your condition is not your conclusion. Where you are today does not have to be where you end up tomorrow. And I think with the help of folks in this room, with the interventions that we truly need to have, I think we can make a difference. One of the other areas that I think we heard from Governor Patrick, as well as President Obama, was relative to our community colleges. There's a great deal of work that we have to do to make sure that we begin to align the issues that we have based on cyclical unemployment, right? Folks don't have the skills that they need, even though there are jobs. In the state of Massachusetts right now, there are 120,000 open jobs. But we are not able right now to fill those jobs based on the fact that people don't have those skills. So what we have to do is work with our community colleges to make sure that not only are they giving an education that will get folks into the next level of education, but also something that will give them an opportunity to get a job, to take care of themselves, as well as their families along the way. And I think we are moving towards that. In this current budget, there's $10 million to move towards that, and there's a challenge to the folks who, in State Street, I know y'all have couple of checks around here, to raise another $10 million to begin to really deal with that very, very important issue. The other topic that I wanted to address is that of celebration. One of the difficult things that we face as New Englanders is we like to poo-poo the party so often. I feel like one of the things that we need to stop doing is beating up on one another. I think we need to step forward and celebrate some of the really great things that are happening. Not only in this room, we have amazing people who are doing amazing things. I look at Tim Rowe, who is at the Cambridge Innovation Center. This is a center that is the largest innovation, and I know he gets upset when I call it incubator, but innovation incubator in the whole world. Right? And where I come from, we would call this sweat, but we pay so much attention to California and New York and other places, but we fail to celebrate the great things that are happening in our own midst. And, you know, as we go through our difficult struggles, we do have to take some time out to give each other, and actually I'm going to have y'all raise your right hand, right? I want you to turn it backwards. I want you to slowly move it back. And just give yourselves a pat on the back, okay? Because that's something that folks in the city of Boston, as well as greater Boston, don't normally do. And I guess the last topic that I just wanted to address quickly is that of collaboration. And I heard Mike speak about this earlier. I think the challenge that we have, and I don't know if this is because of the cold weather and we always bundle up, is that I think we do need to do a more, have a more thoughtful and deliberate act of collaborating and connecting with one another. And I think it's really important to do it across silo. One of the things that I went to the other night was there was a diversity forum. And it was the first time that I had been in Boston when there was a networking event and we had people from all different groups. In Boston, if you have a black professional networking event, there's black people there. If you have a networking event, there's not black people there. If you have an Asian networking event, there's Asian folks there. We, I think, have to do a better job at bridging those divides and understand that, as I said before, that our diversity is not our challenge, but it's our opportunity. And when we begin to come together, we will definitely have the strength, I think, to take Boston to that next level. And I guess I just leave you with my mantra and how I live my life. And this week was a really interesting week for me because as a city councilor, this is my first time doing this job. You don't get to see yourself in history, but this week I got to do that because we got to go to the Kevin White funeral. And it made me think about what Boston was, what Boston is, but really what Boston can be. And I think when I was sitting at the funeral, it really resonated with me that when you leave here, you only get 3 things on your headstone. And that's your name, the date you came here, and then the date you leave. And in between those 2 dates is a hyphen. And that hyphen is a question. And it's a question about, what did you do? What did you do to help people? How did you empower communities? How did you connect people? How did you create jobs? What's different? What's better since you lived? And so when I think about what I see in this room, I see the ability for all of those hyphens to come together and to really create a line of change in the city of Boston and to take us to, I think, a new height and a new level that we haven't been to. I think we have all of the ingredients in the city of Boston. It's kind of like the Whole Foods, Trader Joe's ingredients. And I think to date we get some Entenmann's cake, and I like Entenmann's, cool. But you know, I think we can step our game up to some Alden Merrill and all that expensive stuff. And so before I leave you, I'd like everyone to stand. I'd like you to take a little pledge with me. Oh, no, Claude, and no $10,000 bets either. But I'd like you to take this pledge with me. It says, I am one.
I am one.
But I am one.
But I am one.
I cannot do everything.
I cannot do everything.
But I can do something.
But I can do something.
And what I can do,
What I can do,
I ought to do.
I ought to do.
And what I ought to do,
And what I ought to do,
I will do.
I will do.
Thank you so much.
Is he amazing or what? Right? Give him a second round of applause. You know, you only have to meet Tito once to curb all those questions and concerns that people across the country have about what it means to be a public servant and what a public servant can do to improve our community. Tito, you are an inspiration to me. You're an inspiration to, I think, all of us. And we thank you for your service. We thank you for dedicating your life to your passion and making our world a better place. Thank you.